If you're worried about trains, tickets, getting around in general, don't be. I'll walk you through everything step by step so you feel totally confident using the Swiss public transportation. Hey everyone, I just got back from a beautiful trip to Switzerland. I was so nervous getting around, but after a lot of trial and error, I can finally pass on what I've learned. And by the end of this video, you won't be as nervous as I was when I first got to Switzerland. So step number one is you have to download these two specific apps, and these two are the only ones I really used when I was there. Number one is the app called ZVV. This shows real-time train, bus routes, and even funiculars. And the most important thing is this app lets you buy tickets in advance. I will show you how all that works and exactly how to use it. Now the second app you must have is Google Maps. Google Maps is helpful for live tracking the trains and the route that you want to take, and it shows you the exact platforms and where you want to stand. It even gives you alerts if there's any delays. If I was to go back to Switzerland, I would do these things exactly as I'm going to tell you. Part 2. Buying the tickets. How do you do that? Well, when you go onto the ZVV app, there is 3 different types of tickets. It also shows the same thing on the ticket machine on the train platforms or wherever you go. The 3 types of tickets that show up is number 1, the point-to-point ticket. The point-to-point ticket is just your base ticket. If you want to go from one place to the other, that's the ticket you buy. So hypothetically, if you go from Lucerne and you want to go to Interlaken, Lucerne is your point and Interlaken is your last point. So point to point. That's the only route you take. That's the ticket you buy. The second types of ticket that show up on the ZVV app and the train ticket is point-to-point plus class upgrade. For some reason, I didn't understand what that was at first, but it's really simple. It's basically whenever you have a point-to-point basic ticket, like from Lucerne to Interlaken, when you buy the plus class upgrade, it's just an additional fee to make you go from second class to first class. I was sitting in first class by accident. I had no idea. I didn't even realize. I just went on the first carriage, and while I was sitting there, the controller came over and he was like, "Do you want to upgrade to first class?" And we were like, "Oh, not really. We don't really mind it." He's like, "Oh, well, because you're sitting in it right now." I was like, "Oh, we'll be on our way, sir. Forget you even saw us." So we had to go back to second class. But if we had bought that plus class upgrade, that's what it's usually for. And now lastly, for the train tickets, City Pass. Now, the City Pass doesn't just cover from point A to point B. It covers point A to point B and even the buses and public transportation within that city for that whole day. So let's say you go from Lucerne into Interlaken, but you also want to use the bus in Interlaken. That City Pass is what you want to buy if you want to use more than just one route. Once you open your ZVV app, it will show up like this on your home screen. You want to press My Journeys. And if your point of departure, where you're starting out, you can do your location. And for example, we're going to use Lucerne. We're leaving from Lucerne, and you want to head to Interlaken. Now, when you search up a train station, just make sure you have the correct one because there is different ones like Interlaken OST and there's Interlaken West. We're going to use OST. Let's say we want to leave Thursday at 2:30 p.m. and we refresh, and then we see that there's multiple lines. Well, it's the same line, but multiple times because the trains come every hour or so. It just depends on which line. So we can see the price here, 34 francs from Lucerne to Interlaken, And the first train we have is 1506 to 1654. And that's because we did the departure at 2:30. So look what time works best for you, where you want to go. And I will tell you that the times don't really matter, and I'll show why in a second. Let's look at the first one. Let's use the first one. 1506 to 1654. It's an hour, 48-minute ride. And it is from Lucerne to Interlaken. We can see the line. It shows everything. That's exactly where we want to go. Perfect. Let's buy this ticket. You want to press Buy Ticket. And then we see that second class is always the default. Lucerne to Interlaken on Thursday, 2606 at 1506. And then the ticket we want to buy is the point-to-point ticket. Let's look at the other tickets, for example. Now, this is the city ticket. That's what I was referring to earlier about the public transportation for that city. We don't really want to worry about that for right now. We just want to get from Lucerne to Interlaken. As you can see here, it says Lucerne to Interlaken OST via Brunig. I'm not really sure if I pronounce it right. I'm sorry for all the Swiss people here. But it says it's valid for one day. Now, let's press next. So, in total, it will be 34 francs from Lucerne to Interlaken via Brunig. Second class, and valid for one day. What does that mean? This means that any train you take from Lucerne to Interlaken OST via the Brunig line, it doesn't matter what time in that 24 hours you bought the ticket, you can use any train line using that transit. So let's say you wanted to leave at 3 o'clock, right? That was when you wanted to leave, but you missed that train. You can take that same line at 4 o'clock and it's still valid. So don't worry about taking this specific time, this specific train, because it's valid for 24 hours. So once you get your ticket set up and ready, you can use GTC, which I believe is just Apple Pay. You don't need your credit card. I used Apple Pay throughout my entire trip, and you can buy your ticket and you will be set. That's just how you buy your tickets. That's all. Whenever a controller comes, you can just go into the main menu and your QR code will just show up right there. It's very self-explanatory. That's how you buy tickets. There's no stress. I would also recommend, if you don't use the app, there's always ticket machines at the train stations, and that's very easy to do. It shows up the same way as ZVV. There's your point-to-point, there's your point-to-point class upgrade, and your city ticket. You know what they mean now, and those are the two main ways I used it, and the two main ways I think is really all that's needed. And yeah, that's how you use ZVV. And do not forget, in Switzerland, it's always important to have a valid ticket. It must be purchased or validated. You'll see signs everywhere that say, validate your ticket or buy a ticket. This means no excuses. Even if no one checks, if a controller shows up and you don't have a ticket, you will face a fine on the spot and you're cooked. For trains, especially on city-to-city routes, ticket controllers often board around 30 minutes, so make sure to have your ticket ready. Now for buses, look for a yellow validation box. Usually it's outside before boarding, or sometimes it's actually inside of the bus. When we first got to Zurich, we didn't know anything about validating our tickets. We bought the Zurich Day Pass, which means we can use any public transportation at any time, unlimited for the whole entire day, but we didn't know anything about validating it or anything. We were just so confused because everyone would get on the bus and not do anything, and we thought that they just wouldn't check. But in reality, they just always have it validated, and they have a really nice and secure, trusting system. So just in case, always assume that you need to have it validated if you're not 100% sure. Now, part 3, the train station basics. So once you have your ticket, you bought your ticket, you want to go from Lucerne to Interlaken, this is exactly how to do it. So you know you want to go from Lucerne to Interlaken, and you've already bought your tickets that's valid for 24 hours. Now you want to leave at 3:30 p.m. on June 26th. You go and you see which line you want to take, and we can sometimes see how much the prices are on Google Maps. It sometimes is accurate, sometimes isn't, but it's just a good, heads up. So right here we have from Lucerne to Interlaken OST, there's a train that comes at 4:06 p.m. Again, it doesn't matter what time we take because the ticket is valid for 24 hours from where we bought it. As long as we get to Interlaken OST from Lucerne via the Brunig line, you see it right here, it says the Brunig right here, Brunig-Hasleberg. That's totally okay. Their ticket is valid. So from Lucerne to Interlaken OST, 9 stops. Google Maps is what you use as a GPS. You can see which line exactly it is, which is LIX. And when the train comes at 4:06 p.m., take a look at the sign, and it will say the last train station. The last train station on Google Maps, it says, will be Interlaken OST. That's how you confirm if you're on the right train or not. So it's scheduled. We double-check the sign, Interlaken OST. It came at 4:06 p.m. Great. You want to stand where 14 BC platform is. Make sure you're on that platform because that's where the train will arrive. If you're not on that platform, you're not going to see the train. So that's what we need Google Maps for. Unfortunately, it doesn't say what platform it is on ZVV. That's why we need Google Maps. So just be careful on that. Now, hypothetically, if we miss the train at 4:06 p.m., don't worry, your ticket is still valid for 24 hours again. And there's another train that comes at 5:06 p.m. And if you miss that, there's also another train at 6:06 p.m. So as you can see here, this specific line comes every hour. So that's usually how you use Google Maps. You just start this directions and just follow it. It's very helpful. And once you do it once or twice, you'll get right into it. You'll get into the flow, and it'll be easier than it is when you started. I promise. Now, lastly, mistakes to avoid. Now, these are all based on my personal experience, and these are the mistakes that I don't have to go through anymore because I've already made them. Trial and error. Boarding without checking the direction. So, again, I can't reiterate enough. Always confirm the train route and the direction if it's going left or right. That plays a huge difference because it can add another 30 minutes into your train ride. So a good thing about Google Maps is if you put your phone down and you point in the direction that the train is going, it will show on the map if that's the direction you should be taking. So like I would hop on into a train and then I would see that it's going this way, but on Google Maps I'm supposed to be going this way, and that's how I would just immediately know I'm on the wrong train. Make sure to use Google Maps 24/7 when you're on the train. Just double check, again and again. Getting into the wrong class, seats marked 1, seats marked 2. Simple. Not validating a paper ticket, same thing. You might have the wrong ticket, and validating it helps you see if you have the right one or not. Standing in the wrong section. So sometimes there's platforms that are so long, like I said, the letter zones A to, it could go up to like G or H, even more. Some trains aren't that long, so just check the train letter zones so you don't have to run when the train arrives. Forgetting to check the logos. Different services have different symbols, and many times I've mistaken a tram for a bus or a bus for a train. It gets very confusing sometimes. It gets very overwhelming. So again, just make sure you double check. You can never double check more than enough. Triple, quintuple, do what you gotta do. In the end, don't even worry about it. You'll understand, and when you see it, it'll come to you, I promise. If this helped you, give it a like, drop any questions in the comments, and hit subscribe for more travel tips. Let me know what cities or routes you are taking in Switzerland. I would love to help you plan smarter. But on that note, see you in the next video.